June 3, 1928, New York City. It was a Sunday afternoon when a quiet, gray-haired man arrived at the modest home of the Budd family. His name was Albert Fish, and on the surface, he looked harmless, frail, soft-spoken, and respectable. He carried himself like a kindly grandfather, a man who could never hurt a soul. But behind that gentle facade was one of the most sadistic killers in American history. Albert Fish was not just a murderer. He was a cannibal, a sadist, and a man who seemed to thrive on the suffering of others. Born in 1870, his early life was marked by abuse, neglect, and time in orphanages where he was beaten regularly. Instead of being broken by the cruelty, he learned to enjoy pain. It became a cornerstone of his desires, an appetite that grew darker with time. By adulthood, Fish had developed disturbing obsessions. He was fascinated with mutilation, self-harm, and cannibalism. He inserted needles into his own body. X-rays later revealed more than 24 lodged inside him. He wrote obscene letters to strangers, detailing his violent fantasies. And then, he began to act on them. The Budd family tragedy became his most infamous crime. Fish had responded to a newspaper ad placed by 18-year-old Edward Budd, who was seeking farm work. Pretending to be a wealthy employer, Fish visited their home with promises of a job. But his eyes were not on Edward. They were on Edward's younger sister, Grace. She was only 10 years old. On that June day, Fish convinced the Budds to let Grace accompany him to what he claimed was his niece's birthday party. The family, trusting the kindly old man, allowed her to go. She never returned. For years, Grace Budd's disappearance remained a haunting mystery. The Budd family searched desperately, and police chased down countless false leads. Fish vanished into the shadows, continuing his secret life of depravity. He would not resurface until 6 years later. In 1934, the Budd family received a letter. It was anonymous, typed, and horrifying. The author confessed in chilling detail what had happened to Grace. He described luring her into an abandoned house, strangling her, and then, unspeakably, cutting her body into pieces and eating parts of it. The letter was signed by Albert Fish. Detectives traced the letter back to a boarding house where Fish had lived. When they finally caught him, they uncovered a lifetime of horror that defied imagination. Fish admitted to countless crimes, abductions, assaults, and murders, but authorities could only confirm a few. His confessions were so shocking that investigators doubted some could even be true. But what was undeniable was the sadistic pleasure he took in recounting his acts. In court, Fish showed no remorse. He even seemed to relish the attention. Psychiatrists called him insane, pointing to his violent sexual compulsions and his obsession with self-inflicted pain. Yet, the jury declared him sane enough to face justice. On January 16, 1936, Albert Fish was executed in the electric chair at Sing Sing prison. Witnesses say he went to his death calmly, almost eagerly. Some reports claim the chair malfunctioned due to the needles embedded in his body, though this remains legend. What is certain is that America's so-called Boogeyman was gone, but his legacy of horror remained. Albert Fish is remembered as one of the most disturbing figures in criminal history. Unlike many killers motivated by rage or greed, Fish seemed to kill purely for the thrill of pain, both his own and that of others. His crimes were not just physical, they were psychological, leaving scars on the families he targeted and on the investigators who uncovered his secrets. Even today, nearly a century later, the story of Albert Fish is whispered with dread. He was proof that evil can hide in plain sight, behind the face of a frail, unassuming old man who knocked on a family's door one summer afternoon.